thanks for joining Casa de Amabilidad. I'm Damien Rangel, and in today's episode, Dos Voces Una Sed, we'll explore two different experiences and views of water scarcity and discuss what you might not know happening in your community. Our guest joining today will provide us with our different experiences to explore. First guest will be my father, Simon Rangel, and the second will be my close friend. Starting with my father.
Sí. ¿Cuáles fueron las dificultades que le ha escasez de agua afectó a usted o a su comunidad? Pues la dificultad fue que tenía que cargar el agua muy lejos, en cubetas, desde el río, desde una sequía, para llegar a la casa. Y a veces estaba llovido, mucho lodo, mucha agua, y había que caminar entre el agua, entre el lodo. ¿Hasta ahí?
Hasta, sí. Ok. ¿Y hubo algún esfuerzo comunitario o programa que ayudara a manejar el uso de agua?
Pues ya de muchos años sí empezaron a hacer zanjas para meter pipas para llegar el agua a las casas, pero ya de muchos años.
Pero nomás era todo, nomás eso para agarrar el agua. No había gobierno, no había otros programas.
Pues
nomás usted, la comunidad.
Sí, nomás la comunidad a trabajar para, pues, tú sabes, como en un ejido allá, el presidente del ejido es el que hacía esos programas, pero muchos años después ya, por lo pronto traemos el agua en cubetas por muchos años.
Okay. ¿Y qué cambios ha notado en la disponibilidad o calidad del agua local a lo largo de los años? ¿Puedes leerla? Sí.
¿Qué cambios ha notado en la disponibilidad de calidad del agua local? Pues he notado que ahora ya tienen agua los vecinos, ahí tienen agua ya por medio de agua potable, que ya llega por tubería a las casas con una llave afuera allí.
¿Y la calidad es más buena o es la misma?
Pues la calidad ya es mejor.
¿Más mejor?
Sí, porque pues ya es un agua ya, me imagino que purificada un poco más, ya no está como el agua del río, que corría sucia y todo, en las sequías, el agua sucia, tomaba el ganado, tomaban animales y nosotros también. Ahora debe estar ya más buena porque corre por tubería.
Sí. Okay. ¿Qué significa para usted personalmente o para su comunidad la escasez de agua?
¿Qué significa para usted personalmente o para su comunidad la escasez de agua? ¿Qué significa? Pues que significa que pues ya no hay escasez de agua como antes. Ya está mejor.
Está mejor, sí. Ok. En su opinión, ¿cuáles son las principales causas de la escasez de agua hoy en el día?
¿Esta verdad?
Sí.
En su opinión, ¿cuáles son las principales causas de la escasez de agua hoy en día? ¿Cuáles son las principales? Pues será que pues hay problemas de repente porque como hacían tinacos de cemento para encerrar, para almacenar agua, y pues a veces se quebran y hay que reemplazar tinacos para reemplazar llaves y reemplazar pipas para que llegue de nuevo a la casa.
Sí. Y otros países, ¿qué son las causas de escasez de agua en otros países? Como Texas o México. Los gobiernos no tienen dinero para accesibilidad a agua.
Sí, pues no malgastan el dinero, no administran bien y pues ahí se batalla con servicios del agua.
Now, our second guest, my close friend. Have you or someone you know in your community experienced water scarcity?
Me personally, I haven't. I live on the east side of Sebastian. I know my family on the west side of Sebastian has had some issues. From just things like water always turning off, and whenever it does come back on, it's just dirty, and they gotta make sure they're boiling it and stuff like that to make sure they're not getting sick or, I don't know, getting a disease of some kind.
Okay. What changes have you noticed in local water availability or quality over the years?
There's definitely been a water shortage occurring in the valley in general, like the entire RGV.
Right.
Over the years, it's kind of hard because I'm not that old, but I know for sure as I got older, my mom complained a lot more about how dirty the water was, or just dirtier than usual, I guess. And you know, my family on the west side of Sebastian has had it worse than what we have. We've had it a lot less than them, but they do always complain about it and just say it seems undrinkable, and if you're not boiling it correctly, again, you're gonna get sick.
All right. And how does water scarcity affect your local area or region?
Scarcity in general, I would say, affects a lot of the agriculture down here. Simply because there's so much agriculture going on. They need that water to grow the crops. Without crops, obviously no food, so on. Also with the scarcity, again, comes with the contamination. Just because it's coming from sources that they don't have a constant flow. That could be anywhere. I know it's not just in Sebastian where they have dirty water or water that's just, it doesn't look drinkable. And then, of course, with that contamination, if you're not boiling that water, you're going to get sick. Sickness in children stops from going to school. Parents get sick, they can't take the kids to school, can't go to work. So I think in the long run, it also affects the economy, but that's if you're really looking into it, I'd say.
Okay, next one. Are there any community efforts or programs that help manage water use?
Sorry. To my knowledge, there are no programs or any efforts to create any programs to solve these issues. I don't know if it's just because of the region we live in. I know the water scarcity issues talked about a lot on the news, but even in it being talked about in the news, I don't see any effort at all or have any knowledge of programs that are being created to help people in the RGV with this problem.
Okay. What does water scarcity mean to you personally or in your community?
Water scarcity, to me, this just as it seems, it's hard to come by. It's limited. Just people don't have access to water. They don't have access to clean water. Even if it's there for them, it's not clean. And if it's not there for them, well then, that's the whole issue in itself.
Okay, in your view, what are the main causes of water scarcity today?
Main causes of water scarcity on a national level, like just the U.S. in general, I would say is the government always trying to make some kind of profit. A lot of times, my opinion, or it could be true, they're always, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. They're always looking for ways to save money for themselves, like whoever owns companies, whoever's in charge of making sure the water's good, it's clean, making sure there's nothing in it that could pose a threat to the public. But here in the RGV, I think water scarcity mostly derives from global warming. With global warming comes drought, and again, back to the news, I know they mentioned that this huge reservoir we get our water from is losing a lot of water due to drought. I'm sure those videos are still up, something if you're interested in looking at, that's there too.
So covering some key points in this episode. I want to cover how my father obtained water necessary for his daily life and what were the struggles of water scarcity affecting him and his community. Other key point, I want to talk about how either of them think about how much water they use and how much they know about global water issues. Third one, key point, this isn't just in the US, in Mexico, it's even in Canada, it's in Africa, it's in Europe, it's in Australia. Water scarcity affects billions globally, but not everyone feels it equally. I want to explain what water scarcity actually means, and that it's not just no water, but it's actually limited access to clean, safe water for drinking, showering, and and cleaning. So going over the first key point, I want to cover how my father obtained water. He would go to the river with buckets on his back, leading a donkey with buckets on his back. That was his way of obtaining water. The struggles were the trip. He would make one trip in the morning and another trip in the evening. Days where it rained, it was muddy, it was real hard to get through. Even a donkey couldn't get through. But he had to do it so that his family, he's the oldest of them all, so that his family could have access to clean, safe water for cooking, showering, dishes, and for the animals. And how that affected not only his family but the community. It's a small town, little pueblo. On days of the droughts, elderly that lived in the pueblos did not have access to drinking water. So that was one of the struggles. And what he said later on in life, when he was 20, 10, 15 years later, they barely started making ways for water, streams to go to the communities. They laid down pipes so that they could have access to water. That was their own effort. That was the townspeople doing what they needed to do. Now going over if either of them think about how much water they use and if they know about any global water issues. So my father's 71. He's uneducated. He dropped out of school in Mexico at I believe 3rd grade or less. So he's real uneducated. He's worked all his life, so he doesn't really know much about global water issues. But he does know how much water he uses. He still, to this day, recognizes how much water he uses, and he still cherishes water to this day. Now for my friend, she doesn't really know how much water she uses. She doesn't really think about it, but she does know a good amount about global water issues. Now I want to talk about water scarcity and how it affects billions globally, but not everyone feels it equally. People in the United States and Europe are not going to feel the same amount of water scarcity as people in third world countries such as Mexico and South America. But scaling it down, people in Texas feel water scarcity. People in McAllen, people in the RGV, people in California, people in Michigan. But there's some people in the US that don't even think that there's a water scarcity problem because it's not affecting them personally. Sometimes it is drought, for example, in California and in the RGV. Other times it is the government, like in Flint, Michigan, where the government decided to switch water access from a reservoir to a river that was contaminated with lead, leading to thousands of people getting sick. Now I want to explain what water scarcity actually means. Water scarcity is not just having no water. When you think of water scarcity, you want to think of like Africa, kids having to go to a well or not having water at all. But no, water scarcity means not having access to water, to safe, clean drinking water. It could be from drought, it could be from climate change, global warming. Other times it could be from governments restricting water access for their own profits, just like in Flint, Michigan, where they switched where they got their water from a reservoir to a river that was contaminated with lead. We will be ending it there. I want to thank my friend and I want to thank my father for joining us. I just want to say every drop and every act of care makes a difference. Spread awareness and continue to educate yourselves and share love for our planet and each other. I'm Damien Raquel, and this has been Casa de Amabilidad.